Now, based on your experience, what do you see are the most common conflicts? Right? Think about people you observe around you, okay, or maybe even conflicts that you yourself have been involved in. Right now, can you type in the chat box? So, what are the most common conflicts that you see? Yeah, what you see around you. Okay, what are the most common conflicts that you see? Where to eat? Okay, indeed. When in the workplace, when lunchtime comes, I always ask my colleagues, "Hey, where you want to eat? Somewhere." Okay, for me, it's not so much of fighting over where to eat. Everyone also don't know what they want to eat. Yeah. So, but sometimes it can be a conflict. But if that is the worst conflict you have in your workplace, then you have a very good workplace. Yeah. Okay, fighting for the TV remote. Okay. If that is the worst conflict we have at home, then I think you have a pretty good home. Yeah. Okay, now discrimination. Nessa, thank you. Yeah. Discrimination in the workplace or even at school. Yeah. It can be something that is very severe, can have very severe impacts. Right? So if that is something that is causing conflict, certainly it is something that we have to address. Right? Misunderstanding, yeah, Zinchi, thank you. Yeah, so this is related to communication. If we do not communicate well, we will have misunderstanding, and then that is sometimes cause some conflicts, which is actually unnecessary. Ways to earn money. Okay, Alex is very practical. When we talk about money, definitely there will be a lot of conflict one, right? So if we are in a for-profit company, yeah, of course the management, the employees, they would have conflicts about, so what is the right thing that we should do so that the company is profitable, right? So very good. So these are some of the most common conflicts. Yep, different goals and visions in the team. Yep, that is indeed a cause of conflict, right? Okay, now we have talked about what are the most common conflicts. Now next, let's think about, so what are the most damaging conflicts, right? Now, of course, fighting over the TV remote, that's maybe not so bad, yeah, unless the two brothers end up fighting, but normally it's not something very severe. Yeah? Or we are debating over what to eat today. That's not going to be a very damaging conflict, right? So what do you see around you that you find there are some conflicts which actually can cause a very deep impact, and can cause very bad damage? Yeah? Can you share in the chat box? So what do you think are the most damaging conflicts that you have seen, yeah? Or maybe you have involved in? Okay, fighting over who gave me COVID. Yeah. Okay. You know, my daughter just had a close contact with a friend who had COVID, right? So my daughter now is still under observation, but she has been 3-4 days now. So far, she doesn't have any symptoms. So I'm hopeful that she didn't have COVID, right now. But it's very true, Rashad. So if let's say my daughter really got COVID, so am I going to blame her friend, yeah, who met up without doing self-check properly and gave COVID to my daughter? Now, let's say if my daughter got very sick, right? So am I going to blame my daughter's friends' parents because they did not control their kids, yeah, and then now their kids spread the illness to my daughter, right? Indeed, that can be a very damaging conflict, right? Relationships, yes. Conflicts a lot of times is about relationships, yeah. Bad conflicts, it can break families, right? Yeah. Bad conflicts, it can damage work relationships. Yeah? In future, when we go to work, if you find that you cannot work with your supervisor, it's going to be very difficult for yourself and also for him or for her, right? If we don't resolve these conflicts. Yeah. Okay. True. Now, people not understand my point of view, Wing Yi. So this indeed can be a source of conflict, but it's also very important when people are not able to understand you. You also have to ask, are you able to understand their point of view as well, right? So this is always something that can be very challenging, right? Okay, Ubong, thank you. Yeah, when attacks get very personal, right? So indeed, this is something later we'll talk about. When we have conflicts, right, we have to avoid becoming very personal. We have to talk. We have to talk about the matter rather than the person. I don't want to have a conflict with you because I don't like you, right? It's not, especially in the workplace. It's not about whether I like you or not, right? We are here to do a job, so we need to discuss the matter. We don't discuss the person, right? Okay, very good. So you can see some of the most damaging conflicts. It is about relationships, right? When we damage relationships, be it families or out in the workplace, right, or at school, then it is actually there will be long-term impacts. Yeah, it will damage how well we work, how well we learn, right? Now, the third thing we want to think about is what are the most poorly handled conflicts? Yeah, what are the most poorly handled conflicts? Now, by right, when we know some of the conflicts which are the most damaging, we should spend a lot of effort to resolve them, right? But sometimes you may notice that some of the worst conflicts are not actually handled very well. Yeah? Some very bad conflicts, right? Just now there was somebody has shared some of the worst conflicts is actually divorce, right? Divorce, it can be caused by husband and wife. There is some conflict, but they never resolve it, right? So after a few years, maybe that ends up in divorce. Yeah, so that impacts the children. Yeah, so sometimes we see there are conflicts, we know they are damaging, but they are not being resolved properly, right? Or we don't put the effort to do it. We don't try to find ways to resolve these conflicts. Yeah, so it's important for us, not only we need to be aware of what conflicts there are, but also we need to know when there is a conflict that needs to be resolved, we have to be conscious about resolving it. Okay, Yingyu has mentioned cutting off a relationship instead of resolving it. Yes, okay. Now, today I'm not going to be a relationship advisor, yeah, okay. You can PM me if you need some relationship advice. Now, but cutting off a relationship, that can be, sometimes it can be something that you should do, but sometimes it may not be. So it depends a lot on what is your situation. Yeah, so I cannot comment whether it is the right thing or wrong thing to do. Yeah? Sometimes people make that decision. But what is important is if we are in a relationship and we are thinking, is this something worth continuing on or not, right? So we have to apply some of these conflict resolution techniques to really help us go through this and then think through this. Yeah.